Welcome back. This is our midsummer pond update. We've got some fun news with another waterfall project going, but here's an aerial view kind of showcasing or maybe documenting the vegetation issues that we have in all of our shallow areas that are about 6-7 feet and shallower.
So the waterfall got a little bit of an extension.
So we called Eastern Iowa Landscapes back up and had Greg and Jackson and Andrew come back and add a little extension onto the top of the waterfall. We were about 3/4 of the way up the hill, and after assessing it, it just needed a little bit more. A rainfall right in the middle of the project does not make things fun, but after digging that all out, we got all the way up to the top, added about another 10 feet in height, and some pretty cool water features that really accentuate the project.
And so this is going to be a larger pool here, more lights, a big center stone, a flat rock there for water to spill off of and crash into that one, filling here, and the same thing on this side. So the head of the waterfall came up about another 8 to 10 feet. So now this is where the water's all getting pumped up to. So like the light hidden behind the big center stone, 2 more lights illuminating the 2 falls on either side of the new stone, where the original head was, right here. So I just added a little bit more, and a lot more boulders. All right, so that first shot was only about 2/3 the power. So I turned the pump all the way up on the variable speed VFD, and this is the effect of that pump. I mean, the head pressure from it has to be 30 feet down there. Lost a perch. That's probably 5 this summer that I've seen floating. So there is something cool about a natural pond and letting the natural vegetation grow, and there's also something gross about it. Some cool aspects. We've also got some gross aspects. I got a little feisty smallmouth. All right, so this is at least half the size of some of the other ones in here. To our regular follower, this guy has to be an offspring of our original stocking.
And this perch might be its mom or dad, I don't know. But the perch this time of year are hanging out a little bit deeper, and it was fun to see it hanging out on this bucket structure that I made with these little tiny bluegills hanging in the weeds.
So I'm sitting right off of the edge of the flat next to the waterfall, and the smallmouth are just hanging right off this cliff.
Now I've been catching the 9, 10, 11 inch, but these guys looked a little bit bigger on camera, but then again the camera does add some extra pounds. I think that these are hanging off just at the bottom of the drop off, waiting for bait fish to come over the edge. And I think that they're using this as an ambush point, which is great. You want your predators not to have to exert a bunch of energy to find fish and to get their next meal, and this seems to be a perfect spot for them, with the reeds or cattails providing some structure and cover with some riprap rocks. They seem to take into this one spot, and it's kind of cool to see them all hanging together on the prowl. And they seem to all be looking upward with their nose pointed up, looking for their next meal. I don't know if you've been watching close at home, but there's a number of bass that have these dark spots right on their stomach. And I'm curious what those are. Does anybody know? I've heard of blotchy bass, but any pictures I see online don't look anything like that.
Man, we were right in time adding more of the Aquamax. It's been about a year and our pond is holding pretty good. The pipe that we've put out here is still tethered 4 different ways with lines, and I want to pour some cement down the tube to create a really solid foundation before I cut the lines, just so that it's weighted down at the bottom, because then I want to cut the pipe off, and I still got to figure out how to do that. Oh man, I got my whole arm wet. It's gonna be my chute to dump the Quikrete into the pipe and make it solid down at the very bottom. Send me your ideas of how I would cut this off underwater. A little at a time. All right, slowly but surely, this will be my process. All right, and that is 2 50-pound bags of Sakrete. That's gotta help stabilize the bottom.
And speaking of the bottom, here we are. This is the base of where our leak was at in the past. And the red ear sunfish are all hanging out here. So a little bit about red ear sunfish. They forage on different food than other bluegill, bass, perch, walleye. They eat grubs and shells. They call them shell crackers because they've got the ability in the back of their throat to crack shells before they swallow them. And I was able to catch 3 different fish on camera listening, looking for, and finding whatever their food is buried in the dirt, and they just pounce on it, almost like a robin listening for worms or like a bobcat listening for mice underneath the snow. But these red ear sunfish are just picking up the grubs or the shells or whatever it is that they're finding under there. It was pretty cool.
Keep some of these smaller sizes.
So I need to start harvesting the bluegill. And look at all these little tiny fry swimming around, and this bass is hanging out underneath the bluegill in my basket, checking it out.
There are minnows all up in here. Figure out what these little guys are.
And they are shiners. Now, I believe they're golden shiner fry, but the distinct black stripe almost looks like an emerald shiner, but we did not stock any of those, so I don't know. There's a few bluegills swimming in amongst all of these guys as well. And while we're battling our algae and vegetation issues, the silver lining in all of this is that it does provide good dense cover for all of our young of the year and forage fish to have a place to hide and evade the predators, but we don't want them to hide too good. So finding that right balance of enough cover but not too much so that your predators can grow big and fat. And here there's just more bluegills hiding in and amongst the Cara algae right here.
Okay. They're getting to put some little weight on here. Okay. Go 10.5. There it is. Ooh. She's a nice one. Look at that perch. Guys, are you kidding me? Look at this perch. That's the biggest one we've caught out of here. Let's get a tape on that thing. Oh, no! Dang it. That was gonna go at least 11. A few bluegills on the beds here. Yep, the little males tending to the nest. Alright, so I don't know if I've showed you this before, but we've got the waterfall on pretty low right now. Enough to keep the water moving. And what's great about this variable speed situation we've got going on over here is that by adjusting the flow rate right here, we'll go up to 66 is the max. So from 50 to 66. Now the pump over there starts sucking the water in faster. It takes a minute or two for the whole cycle to get going. But once it starts that flow rate to the top, then a higher volume of water starts tumbling down the hill. And then I'll show you the difference between the flow rate right down here at the bottom.
And now this is on high, and that makes quite a big difference. And then going under the water, it really stirs up all of the vegetation. This is the algae and all of the microorganisms, and these little baby bluegill are just all over in here, just eating away at all of the algae and plankton and whatever else they're eating. So it's kind of cool to see all of the food chain in action. Now, I'm not a turkey hunter, but they are causing quite the mess on the property. But look at this specimen on the trail cam from earlier this spring.